of a new number 10. Alexis Mac Allister has signed for Liverpool for a reported absolute daylight robbery of 35 million. So, what do we know about Alexis Mac Allister? Let's cover some stuff. Let's give you some quotes. Let's do some statistical analysis against him. Well, Alexis Mac Allister is born on the 24th of December 1998. That makes him 24 years old. He's 5'9" and from... Hello, Damo.
Hello. How's it going, boys?
Let me just put a background on. Let's go with that one. Are you happy?
You know what? I'm happy with the signing. I'm not happy with that fact that, it could have got Jude as well as others, but he's a brilliant player, isn't he? He's an absolute brilliant player. He gives us something that we don't have. That's certainly something. That's a drive from midfield, and we don't have that at the moment.
£35 million, though.
Absolute bargain, isn't it?
It could be the time of the summer, and we've not even started.
I mean, the talk about it being 60 million, 70 million, I was sort of accepting like 55, 50. I was like, maybe I'll be happy with that, but 35 million. I don't even know where that come from. I know it's his release clause, but I couldn't imagine his release clause being that cheap, to be honest.
I've got to be honest, I think Brighton dropped the ball here. Just before the World Cup, they did the contract, they put the release clause in, and I get they wanted to do it. But if you knew he was going to be starting for Argentina, you'd put it at least 50 and stuff like that. But the fact that we've managed to get it for 35, I mean, it's the biggest Christmas present FSG could have ever asked for, isn't it? We don't want to spend money. Don't worry. Here's a really low release clause for the player that you're looking for. Like, oh, well, we'll take it.
It's a perfect FSG sign, isn't it? It really is. Someone that's so good at such a cheap price. I mean, you don't get those sort of prices these days, do you, at all? With someone that's a World Cup winner, a guy that's practically been a big part of Brighton's first European appearance. I mean, I bet he's like thinking, hey, I wish I was part of that Brighton European side next year, but he's got bigger fish to fry now. And yeah, it is an absolute steal at that price for a World Cup winner as well. And he was key to that World Cup team. Let's not get things lost here, James. He was, obviously Messi the star boy and everything like that, but Mac Allister played a huge part in that World Cup, and he was brilliant in the final.
He's taken the number 10 shirt, which is absolutely fine. That's his preferred number. But just imagine it for a kid, who's playing for Brighton, bottom half of Premier League contenders, was hoping to get into the World Cup squad. And in a year, got into the World Cup squad, won the World Cup, played a pivotal role in it, then gets signed for Liverpool. I mean, talk about a life-changing 12 months.
What a year. I think I wrote that yesterday as well in an article I did yesterday. What a year it's been for him. Absolute amazing year. The winning the World Cup, it's the top of any footballers, isn't it? No matter how much they love the clubs, winning the World Cup for the country is like the pinnacle. And then to go on and go and take Brighton to like I said, the first time in Europe, and then this, wow, he must be thanking his lucky stars this morning.
I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to read or watch any of his interviews yet. It's literally just broke. But, he said, since I won the World Cup, I said I've wanted to win more trophies. I think this club will help me do that. That's the aim. When you're at a big club like this, you have to win trophies. So that's what I want. And
that's why he chose us over United. Yeah. Unless he wants the Carabao Cup.
They were on for the...
quadruple, yeah. They were on for quadruple. Fair play to them. They pushed really hard for that.
Owen, great signing. Jen, bigging up Owen. Everyone, it's good news. It's good news. I need to change the colour code before Dan logs on and has a little paddy fit. But Mac 10, as Jen referred to him as, quick fire. It's just...
Yeah, definitely Mac 10. And it reminds me of back in the day, back in the 90s, when I used to have... I don't know which one it was. I think like 1997 FA Cup final. I used to have a FA Cup run up, like we did it on VHS.
Yeah.
And I had Liverpool's run up to the final, and I always remember the commentator saying Mac Attack, you know, with the McAteer and McMahon. He used to call it the Mac Attack, and it's giving them sort of vibes, that sort of Mac Attack sort of thing. It's got a lot to live up to though if it's McManaman, because McManaman was an absolute animal.
Well, he's got a lot to live up to with the surname Mac Allister, to be honest. Because Gary Mack was
Gary Mack, yeah,
absolute pivotal moments, wasn't he? Especially when we won the Europa treble. And his free kicks were just insane.
Taking Mane is number 10 as well.
Yeah.
No, do you think there's a lot of pressure on him, James? Do you think there's a lot of pressure on him? I think because we need such a midfield overhaul that there's less pressure on him of others coming in.
I don't think there's any pressure on him. There's no big fee. He's won the biggest thing that you can win in the World Cup. He's going to be in from day one. You know, pre-season training. He's going to be training with the team. I think he mentions that in his interview. And we're not going to, no one's going to be throwing around like like if he has a tricky start with us, no one's going to be throwing around a Darwin Núñez price.
Yeah.
He pretty much comes without expectations. And as long as he's better than, should we say, Curtis Jones or Jordan Henderson or everyone's going to be happy. And you look at his stats. I mean, I've been looking at who he compares most to because I always look at that. It gives you an idea. So FB Ref, if you've never looked on there, have a look. It does some comparisons. Players he is more statistically comparable to. Bonaventura, don't know much about him. Don't watch that much Fiorentina. EK Gundogan, which good. This is the last 365 days of him playing. That's who he's statistically comparable to. Seko Fofana, Valverde, Modric, Barella. These are the 10, some of the 10 players that he's comparable to. And these are the players that we've been calling out for Liverpool to sign. So we've managed to sign someone who is statistically like them for £35 million. Because
it's the player
on that list.
It's the player we'll be missing. It is the player we've been missing since Coutinho, that sort of midfielder that gets involved in the assists and the goals and the goal contributions as a whole, because we haven't had that since Coutinho. It was Coutinho and that was it. And he's not number 10 like Coutinho, and he's got a lot to live up to if he's going to be at that Coutinho level, because Coutinho at Liverpool for those 2-3 years was just unreal. So, but like I said at the beginning, we haven't had someone like that for years. I won't even say the Gini Wijnaldum position either, because Gini Wijnaldum on that. It was that when we bought him, because he was that sort of attacking midfielder, one in between at Newcastle and PSV, but we haven't had a player that can get involved in the goals for midfield for a long time. Not consistently. We'll have Enzo bag a goal every now and then, and Thiago bag a goal, but not involved in that sort of play every attack really.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing for me. I just think we've wanted a refresh of the midfield. We've wanted some more energy. We wanted some more passion. It'd be really interesting to see who he connects with. Does he get who he builds telepathy with in midfield? I know there's a lot of talk about signing players like Kone and Thuram, who are a little bit more like Gini, the powerhouses who can drive forward with the ball. He's a little bit more technical and a little bit more sort of keeps the ball moving, a little bit more like Thiago probably. Yeah. So it'd be really interesting to see how he integrates in. Obviously, he can speak English. I think Argentina's Portuguese.
Yeah, Brazilian, Argentinian, yeah, it's Portuguese.
So it'll probably be comfortable speaking to Luis Diaz on that side of things. Comfortable speaking to Darwin Núñez. So there's potentially a good link in that 10 progressive spot where he can help communicate and progress, because we know that they're still developing their English. So even in the leadership type position, he is potentially pushing himself a lot more further forward.
I mean, imagine how much his goal contributions will go up with a striker in front of him, because Brighton's never really had a good striker in front of him.
I agree. I think Evan Ferguson will be outstanding, but I don't think he's there yet. He's only 18.
Not the levels of like your Salah.
Relying on Welbeck. Who do you want to pass to, Salah or Welbeck? So Liverpool dug deep to find that clause. I mean, you've got it.
Back of the sofa for that.
It's almost as ridiculous as the Suarez clause for me. When you know that Liverpool are hunting a midfielder and you've got a World Cup winner, that you don't try and get that knocked up to some degree.
Can I ask you a question, James? If it was 60 million, do you think FSG pay up for that? Even though Klopp wants him, even though he's probably a right fit for Liverpool, everything ticks the boxes, but would FSG pay up if you want a cheap option?
I think it depends, doesn't it? There's a chance they'd pay up because obviously they paid that up for Nunes. But when we start to talk about Thuram and Kone, it's Thuram or Kone. That's how the conversation switches.
And it shouldn't have to be like that, should it? That's the problem. That's the problem we have with FSG. It shouldn't have to be like that. It should be, look, if Klopp wants him, go get him. And Bellingham at 85 million was, I think, a steal for what he's going to offer.
Well, but have you seen the salaries? 400 grand a week. That's not a steal for someone that needs knee surgery. That's not a steal. That's a risk. It's a branding steal because obviously he'll make a load of money, but from a footballing perspective, there's a risk to that. And 100 million, 400 grand a week because it's after tax in Spain, and I think that's at 47%. So it's a whole range of things. There's not a chance Mac Allister's on 400 grand a week. He's probably on 120. He's probably on what Naby Keita was on.
Yeah.
120, 140.
Yeah.
So we could, in theory, for the cost of what Jude Bellingham would be, end up with Kone, Thuram, and Mac Allister.
I'd love that. I would love that.
Now, if you were to say, what do you want to sign? Well, you if you want to sign one player, you pick Bellingham because he's up there. But for those three, for that price and that wages, it's a no-brainer for me. And I don't subscribe to the theory that if Klopp says I want this, then he should get it. Because I want to live on a private island in Bali, but
there is limits, isn't there? Yeah, there is limits. Like you don't want to pay over 100 million for a player. I mean, and that's where your line draws. Though there's lines that need to be drawn when it's too much. And like you said, 400 grand a week is quite a bit. But I don't want to act like we haven't got the money for like this and then that. If that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? But I think we have. So I'll be happy if we get Mac Allister, Thuram, Kone, and I want 4, me personally. I want 4. But
I'm all right with Trent playing more central, with Curtis Jones having a good end to the season. There's something to progress from. But Jetic making his way through, Henderson playing the occasional 10 minutes here and there, Thiago the same. I think we've got.
I'm excited to see what Bacchetti is going to be like with a better midfield around him.
And just the whole dynamism of the midfield, because I think we lost the legs, which everyone knew. That's how we got done so often. But I'd really like to see Kone, Thuram, and Mac Allister as a midfield three, with Trent just pinging the ball all over the place, because I think they've got unbelievable legs and drive forward. And that was Liverpool's biggest failing grace for me. They had no one who could take the ball in midfield and just drive through the thirds and just sort of put us in that attack. Because if you look at our 4 or 5 attackers, I mean, nobody's got a better collection of attackers than we have. I wouldn't, you could say, I'd trade Haaland for Nunes. That's fair. But you're not trading Mahrez for Salah.
As a collective,
You're not trading Diaz for Grealish. And then you've got Jota, who, let's remember, was the 3rd highest scorer of the season before and just had a bad year of injury. Then you've got Gakpo, who's pretty much filled the line that Firmino's played. So, you go through the depth, and the depth's there from attack. And as long as the midfield can get the attack the ball, it's good. So it's good, it's early, it's good, it's a step forward, it's exactly what we need. I think we need 3 midfielders and a defender, because I think one of either Gomez or Matip will leave. I think it's going to be Matip for some reason. But I'm all right with that. I think it's a great step forward. And
I think the only player that's shown any sort of drive for midfield is probably Keita when he's been good. The thing with Keita...
I don't remember that game.
he used to attract players, didn't he? He just attracts players and it leaves some space for the front three. And that's what I think that's exactly what Mac Allister's going to be doing. That space created for the front three and the blistering pace of the front three as well. I mean, Gakpo's not slow. Diaz and Salah are just speed demons. So that space created is just going to create so much more opportunities.
No, this is an interesting one, Damo, because Elio puts that he thinks Wijnaldum's finally been replaced, and I don't think he's a replacement.
I don't think he is. No,
I think he's more a replacement for Thiago, but actually a Liverpool-style replacement for Thiago. So with actual legs and pace, which maybe is Wijnaldum.
Yeah, like in between, a bit like Thiago and Coutinho, where he's not as forward as Coutinho, but he's got that that passing range of Thiago. But regarding the Wijnaldum thing, Wijnaldum was supposed to be that player. I just don't think Klopp played him like that. Because Wijnaldum's been like that player all his life. He's always played being a cam. He used to play wing, didn't he, at PSV at times?
Yeah.
He's a cam, and he is at Holland. If he's here at Holland, he scores a lot of goals for Holland and gets lots of assists, Wijnaldum. But he won't play like that, Klopp. I'd like to see Klopp play a little bit differently this season and use Mac Allister for what he is, rather than playing that Wijnaldum role. That sort of box to box. I don't want Mac Allister to be a box to box. I want him to be the creative player from midfield to link up with the front three.
But it's interesting when you think about how our midfield operate in the 4-3-3 and then in the new whatever formation you call this Trent one. If he plays as right central mid, i.e. he's either linking up between Salah and Trent and just making the play tick over and keep things going, which seems to be quite his natural game. He's just a little bit cleverer at making some passes, so that could be a good role for him. But in the Trent free role, that's more a defensive right-sided midfielder, which doesn't seem like it's his game. So then does he play on the left, which is where Curtis Jones has been playing, making late runs into the box, and he doesn't seem like that type of player either. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he fits into the system and structure, because I think I see him in a more traditional 4-3-3 on the right-hand side where he can do both attack and defence and can move around. But just seeing him on the current, like the new Trent formation, just feels a bit weird to me. I just can't see if he's going to be making the late runs. I could see Thuram making late runs into the box and Mac Allister potentially covering it. But maybe they're working on something new.
Thing is, he had a good link up with Mitoma as well, and that's the left. So... And like you said earlier, speaking Portuguese, the Diaz thing, the Jota thing, it's always going to be on the left, isn't it? So is he going to take that Thiago position, that Curtis Jones position? Obviously, Curtis Jones has been brilliant last 10 games, but he's not going to be a first teamer next year, no matter who we bring in. Because if Thiago's fit, he plays. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think there's a chance that Thiago goes this summer as well.
You think he'll go?
I think...
Do you think the turnover of midfielders that have gone, though, do you think it's too much letting Thiago go this summer?
The thing for me is Thiago is a world-class player. Like, if you put Thiago in Man City's team, he would rip teams apart, like Real Madrid and Modric. The problem for Thiago, more specifically, is he's been asked to play in a dynamic running midfield. And that a running midfield isn't his game. He likes to control play and pressure and stuff like that. So maybe Thiago's useful for really big games, where there's going to be space and he can exploit it and stuff like that. And at 32, maybe that is his, thing. Like as much as you play Henderson against the bottom sides for the last 10 minutes to keep the lead, you probably play Thiago against Man City when you've got to be a little bit more cute and clever and find the passes, but the passes are available and open. But then Mac Allister might take that position because he's only 24. His peak's 26 to 30.
Yeah.
It's great. Options. Who knew we could talk about midfield options and not just what can we survive with?
Question for you there, James. Question for you. Will he be our expensive summer signing?
No,
I can't see us getting. I can't see us paying 35 million or less now. And someone like Kearney or Thuram, I can see them being about 40.
Corner, I think
that could be the benchmark. 35 million could be the benchmark.
But 35 mil, we've always spent, and this is always on one player more than that, haven't we? Like Jota was 45. Salah was 35. Nunes was 60.
Mane about 32 or 33, wasn't he? Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be much more. I think 45 will be our max.
Ground ballpark, yeah, definitely.
But
we're not going to be getting a £70 million player this summer.
No,
definitely not. I think Kearney and Thuram will be about 45 million each. Someone like Lavia could be a little bit more expensive because it's Premier League, possibly 60. That's pushing it. Because they've gone down, so they can't really accept them too much. And this George Schmack, he's come in.
I don't think we'll break 50 this year on any player.
No, I can't see that either. I can't see just because of the amount of work he's doing. I mean, Inaccio's the other one now, the defender from Sporting Lisbon that's been put out there now that we're moving on to trying to get. And I can't see him being more than 35 million, to be honest.
No, and is it the Devan, the player from where he's come from Wolfsburg? That sent back. That clearance, where he just sprints the entire length of the pitch, gets there. That was great. Yeah. But I don't know how good a player he is. Again, there's going to be expert analysis on all of these players, but 30 million for Kearney, 40 million for Thuram. I don't think. Yeah, I reckon 40 to 45 will be our maximum spent this summer.
40 million for Vega. See, Vega's another one that excites me, to be honest. And he's a young lad as well, so he's got so much potential. It's just getting him at the right time. Is it too early to get him now? But, when you don't move early, they become like 60, 70, 80 million pound players. And then you can't get them. You can't get them. This is why it cries out on someone like, for example, like Caicedo, for example. He could have gone for like 7 million before. It's those risks you're taking it, James. It's those risks you take. If you take a risk on Vega now, will it work or will it not work? I think it would work with him.
It becomes a really interesting quandary for players as well, doesn't it? Like if you're Mac Allister, you've got this release clause, you've managed to go to Liverpool, which is where you wanted to go. You've got other players going, well, do I get this big release clause that I know Liverpool will never pay? But maybe Chelsea will pay. Well, Chelsea, of course, will pay it. And these other clubs may pay it. I think what we may start seeing more with players now is them putting in lower release clauses. A bit like what City did with Haaland, to go, this way I get the freedom of choice. I will. It's good return. You've signed me for X. This is a good return on thing. But I think we might start seeing more and more release clauses, And I know Helio's just put here that Vega also has a release clause. I think we're going to start seeing players going, well, because I want to choose where I play, because I don't just want to play for a soulless, big money, massive club. I'm going to start putting release clauses in so that I can attract the clubs that I want to play for.
Player power's taken over recently, so I think that's a part of player power I'd accept, because I don't think release clauses should be like 120 million, because it just prizes people out of moves that they might want, and it's their career at the end of the day, and the career's short. It's what, 20-year career tops.
Yeah. Jen thinks players will do it more and more, and Helio again. And we talked about this before you joined us, Helio, but we didn't buy Bellingham, we bought 3 other midfielders instead. And, if Jude's meant to be on a reported 400 grand a week, it very much looks like we will be buying 3 midfielders for the price of Jude Bellingham, which, from the sounds of, from Twitter, which is never a great place to get opinion, but you know what I mean, from the LFC transfer room account, from what we've been seeing, asking people, would you rather sign Bellingham or these 3 players, with potentially Vega being an optional in or out if one of them goes left? Everyone would prefer the 3 option. And I think it's because our defence is still strong. We've still got the best goalkeeper in the league. We've got the best collection of attackers in the league. If we can actually get some legs and good midfielders that don't break down, because Liverpool don't need world-class midfielders. They need hard-working, grafting midfielders who progress the ball through the thirds. Liverpool will be back to where they want to be.
Oh, yeah. And give Trent that cover as well.
Yeah. Oh.
Since Trent's had that cover, you've seen a different player again. And Trent gets a lot of criticism for his defending. And yeah, he does make a lot of mistakes. And he's very naive defending quite a lot of times. But a lot of it's down to the system. And if Henderson's lost them legs, he doesn't have anyone covering him. Recent weeks have just proven that it's down to system. Because as soon as the system changes and legs are covering him, look what he can do. And defensively, he's improved as well.
And it's really interesting because sometimes I look at football teams and I do a bit of a comparison to like basketball, where they've got one, maybe two stars, and everyone else is supporting those stars to do the best they can. Now, football's a little bit different. Real Madrid have normally got a whole plethora of stars, but for Liverpool, you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold and Salah. And Trent is he's a Scouser, he's from Liverpool. It means everything to him. Do you really want to sort of take all eyes off Trent and bring in another British star and go, oh, well, this is Liverpool's identity, this British star who's not a Scouser, who's not from there? I think Trent should be taking the vice-captaincy this year. I think he should be starting to move towards his leadership position, because if you're a Scouser and you're playing for Liverpool, you should be potentially on the trajectory to a leadership position, because you know what it means to the city, to the people, to the supporters, a lot more than you would if you've grown up somewhere else. So I think Trent should be moving towards that.
JSP for captain, James. JSP for captain.
I think it will be Verge as captain next year. I think there'll be a reorg. I think Hendo will be official vice, and I think Trent will be third.
Do you think Verge needs that kick up the backside a little bit? And I think captaincy, I'll give it him.
A central defender, if you've got a good team around you, can play deep. Thiago Silva, for example, because it's all in your brain and positioning and knowing what to do. So as long as you've got a strong midfield in front of your centre-back, Van Dijk can play for as long as he wants, really, because he can spray the ball around, he can position it, and he's a big guy. Will he be as rapid as he once was? No, but that's why you've got Konate. That's why you've got, potentially Kone and Thuram, who can just turn on the afterburners, or potentially a third, in that Mickey Van something or other, who's rapid. So I think Van Dijk will play more do you remember Rafael Marquez in Mexico?
Yeah.
Where he just turned up as a central midfield, as a centre back sweeper, just control.
Chilean sort of role, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he'll do that. Because everyone's going to be out of position and stuff like that. So you'll need an organizer to lead it and structure it, because of what we do with Trent. So I think that's where Van Dijk will come in, and Van Dijk will sort of control what happens defensively and let people go forward and back. And that's why I think he'll take the captains. I think Hendo will be officially vice, and I think Trent will be third. But obviously Trent, and a bit like Van Dijk's been third for years.
James, will it be nice to see the ball on the floor without Henderson playing?
I don't know.
I like our long balls on the top from the defence, but when Henderson starts hoofing it up and things, I think we need to start getting it on the floor around that box area. The only times I like the ball over the top is when, in that sort of area, is when like Fabinho does the little dinks. He does them quite a bit. I go back to that, I think it was against Man United, where he dinked over from Mane to volley it in. Other than that, I like the ball on the floor, around that box.
One of the things I did miss this season is like how Salah backs into people.
Yeah.
Backed into them and bullied them out of the way, and then there was not very little of that this season. And it's not that he's not fit enough to do it. So
it's because he's got no one to link up with in midfield.
Probably.
Because if he holds it up, if you're going to hold it up, backing up into it, you need someone to link up with. You need to do like a 1-2, or to.
Yeah, and Trent stopped overlapping on the right because he's central now.
He's central now, yeah.
So maybe that's the solution to it.
35 million, eh? 35 million. I mean,
couldn't believe it.
I bet Brighton fans are absolutely livid this morning. Not getting
money. Chat, who do you think's next? Do you think it's Thuram, Kone? Do you think it's someone else, or do you think we're done, close for business? Who do you think Liverpool are getting?
That's it. That's the summer now. That's it.
Yeah, we're done. Started
we got that last
start early, finish early.
We need a midfielder. It was soon as that Calvin Ramsey done, and there was reports going out saying that's it now for summer. And a lot of people didn't believe it. I thought, you're joking me, aren't you? That's it. After Calvin Ramsey, so it was that third signing we done last season, and that was like 2 weeks in, wasn't it? 2 weeks into summer. There were like 4 or 5 weeks left yet at window. I know Klopp wants business done early, but we need a lot of business. Not just getting business done early and that's it. If it means going to the second last week of the thing to get this player that we need to do it. We can't ignore the problems now this season. We can't again ignore it and say, look, we don't want a midfielder. You know what I'm saying? We can't get to that situation where we're going into a season we're left short again. Because if you go behind, I mean, we're due to Fulham, didn't we, first game? Then we're due to George Palace game after. And you're already playing catch up. You can't do that. Not against this City side.
True. And we just need to work it out, really. We've lost 3 midfielders. So we need at least 3 in. Otherwise, we're playing with a lighter squad. Jens put Thuram, Kone, Gravenbach and Timber. I would take Timber. I think he could be a really clever signing for us. I think he could be a really astute signing, but I don't know if he would break the threshold of what we're going to spend.
I think it's going to be about 50 million. Yeah. 50 million.
Well, City, I think United offered more than that in the summer, didn't they? I think Timber didn't want to go, and I think Ajax turned it down, so I'm not sure if it was 50-50, one or the other. But
let's try getting Timber and Martinez, and we're never going to do that while they have Ajax.
But this has been LFC Transfer Room. We have signed Alexis Mac Allister for £35 million. FSG have, for some reason, bloodhounded out the cheapest release clause for the best player midfielder that I think is probably out there. If this is how they want to conduct transfer business, but actually do transfer business, I'm all for it, as long as we replace what we need. So let's hope that this is the start of the ball rolling. Let's hope that me and Damo come on a lot more often to announce Liverpool signings in a celebratory way. And let's get watching some Alexis Mac Allister videos and interviews and happiness, and let him have a good summer and go forward from there. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back later today where we will probably get a few more of us on here, and we'll actually have a bit of a conversation about what we think is going to happen next, who we think we're going to sign and what we're going to do. But yeah, make sure that you like, comment, share, celebrate. It's always good to start signing players. So take care and speak to you soon.